Good morning, everyone. I'm pleased to see so many people turning out for this day of meditation. And so we're going to begin with some the morning chanting. So that's page 12. Yeah, okay, so begin with page 12, okay? So I just put this over here. So, bow 3 times. Yosam Bhagava Arahang Sama Sambuddho Savakato Yena Bhagavata Dhammo Supatipano Yasa Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Tamayam Bhagavantam Sadamang Sasankang Ime Sakare Hiyatarahang Arobete Hiyapipo Jayama Sadhu no Bante Bhagawa Suchira Parine Bhutopi Pachima Janata Nukamba Manasa Ime Sakare Dugatapana Karabote Patigan Hatu Amhakanti Karatang Hetaya Sukaya Arahang Sama Sambuddho Bhagawa Buddham Bhagavantang Abhivademi Sawakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Handamayam Buddhasa Bhagavato Pubabhagnamakarang Karomase Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa Handamayam Buddha Bituting Karomase Yoso Tathagato Arahang Sama Sambuddho Vichacharana Sampano Sugato Lokavedo Anuttaro Purisadam Sarati Sata Deva Manu Sana Bodho Bhagavat Yo himang lokan sa devaka samavakam sa brahmakam sa samana brahmaning paja sa dewa manu sangsaya abhinna sa chikatawa pawedesi Yo Dhammang se de kalayana maje kalayana pariyo sana kalayana sadan sabayam jana kewala paripurna parisodang brahmacharya prakasesi Dhammaham Bhagavantang Abhipuchaya Bhagavantang Sivasanamami Handamayang Dhamma Bituting Karoma Se Yo so swakato bhagavata dhammo sandetiko akaliko ehipasiko opanayiko bhajatam vedeta bovenyohi Dhammahang Dhamma Abhipuchayami Dhammahang Dhamma Sivasanamami Handamayang Sankha Bituting Karoma Se Yo so Sapatipano Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Ujjapatipano Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Nyayapatipano Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Samim Jipatipano Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Yatidam Chatari Poresa Yuga Hata Poresa Purgala Esa Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Ahuneyo Bahuneyo Dakineyo Anjali Karaneyo Anuttaram punyaketan lokasa Dhammahang sanghang vipuchaya Dhammahang sanghang sivasanamami Andamayam ratana taya banamaga tayo jewa samvega parikitana patancha banamase Bodho susudo karuna mahanavo Yo chanta suda bhavanyana lochano Loka sabapo pakile sagatako Wandami bodang ahamadavena Dhammo padipo viyata sasatuno Yo magapaga matabeda benako Lokutaro yo tatata dadipano Vandami sammang ahamadare natang Sango suketa bhayatiketa sangito Yodeta santo sugata nubodako Lola pahino ario sumedaso Wanda misangang ahamadare natang Iche wa mekam tapipo janayakang Watu dayam wandayata bisankatang Punyam mayayam mamasa bupadawa Mahontu eta sabhabawa setiya Hidata tagato loke upano arahang sama sambodo Dhammo chade sito niyaniko upasaniko parinibadiko sambodagami sugata pavedito Mayandang dhammang sutawa evam janama Jati pedurga jara pedurga maranam pedurgang Soga baride wadurga dhammana subhaya sa pedurga Apiye sampayogo durgo piye vipayogo durgo Yampe tang nalabati tampe durgang Sankete na panchupadana kanda durga Sayati dang Rupapadana kando Vedana Badana Kando Badana Kando Sankara Badana Kando Vinyana Badana Kando Vinyaya Dharamano So Bhagawa Vam Bahulam Sawake Vineti Evam Bhaga Japana Sabhagavato Sawake Suanusasane Bahula Pavatati Rupang Anicang Vedana Hanicca Sanya Hanicca Sankara Hanicca Vinyanang Hanicang Rupang Anatta Sanya Hanatta Vinkarang Hanatta Vinyanang Hanatta Sabe Sankara Hanicca Sabe Dhamma Hanattati Esambham Bodhina Naja Tia Jara Maranena Soke Hiparide We Hiduke Domana Sehi Upaya Sehi Dukotina Dukapareta Yadinawa Imasake Wala Saduka Kanda Sahanta Kiriyai Yayetati Jira Parinim Bhutam Bitam Bhagavantang. Yeah, I've done this for a while. Please do yours, please. Yeah. Please, you do your Jira. Yeah. You're finishing? So I think the next on the schedule is to take the 8 precepts. So if somebody like to request.
Yes, Lord Paul. Brothers and sisters, there has been Anjali position. Before we request the 3 refuges and the 8 precepts, let's first bow to Lord Paul 3 times first. Bow. You will now be doing the request. Please chant after me. ขอครับมะยังพันเตติสารเนนะสหะอัฏฐาศีลานิยาจามะตุติยัมปิมะยังพันเตติสารเนนะสหะอัฏฐาศีลานิยาจามะตติยัมปิมะยังพันเตติสารเนนะสหะอัฏฐาศีลานิยาจามะ
นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะ
นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะ
บุตังสารนังกัจฉามิ
พุทธังสารนังกัจฉามิ
ธัมมังสารนังกัจฉามิ
ธัมมังสารนังกัจฉามิ
สังฆังสารนังกัจฉามิ
สังฆังสารนังกัจฉามิ
ทุติยัมปิพุทธังสารนังกัจฉามิ
ทุติยัมปิพุทธังสารนังกัจฉามิ
ทุติยัมปิธัมมังสารนังกัจฉามิ
ทุติยัมปิธัมสังฆังสารนังกัจฉามิ
ทุติยัมปิสังฆังสารนังกัจฉามิ
ทุติยัมปิสังฆังสารนังกัจฉามิ
ทัตติยัมปิพุทธังสารนังกัจฉามิ
ตัตติยัมปิพุทธังสารนังกัจฉามิ
ทัตติยัมปิธัมมังสารนังกัจฉามิ
ตัตติยัมปิธัมมังสารนังกัจฉามิ
ทัตติยัมปิสังฆังสารนังกัจฉามิ
ตัตติยัมปิสังฆังสารนังกัจฉามิ
ทิสารณคัมมานังนิทิทัง
อามะพันเต
ปานาติปาทาเวรมณีสิกขาปดังสมาธิยามิ
ปานาติปาตาเวรมณีสิกขาปดังสัมมาทิยามิ
อดินนาดานาเวรมณีสิกขาปดังสมาธิยามิ
อาดินนาดานาเวรมณีสิกขาปดังสัมมาทิยามิ
อบรมจาริยาเวรมณีสิกขาปดังสมาธิยามิ
อัปรักมจาริยาเวรมณีสิกขาปดังสัมมาทิยามิ
มุสาวาทาเวรมณีสิกขาปดังสมาธิยามิ
มุสาวาดาเวรมณีสิกขาปดังสัมมาทิยามิ
สุระเมรยมาจปมาทฐานาเวรมณีสิกขาปดังสมาธิยามิ
สุราเมรยามัจจาปมาดฐานาเวรมณีสิกขาปดังสัมมาทิยามิ
Vikala bhojana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
วิกาละโภจนาเวรมณีสิกขาปะดังสมาดิยามิ
Nacha gita vadita visukha dasana mala ganda vilepana dharana mandana vibhusnatana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
นาจากิตาวาดิตาวิสุกดัสสนามาลากันทาวิเลปนาธารณามันดานาวิภุสนาทานาเวรมณีสิกขาปะดังสมาดิยามิ
Ucha sayana maha sayana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
อุจจาสยนามหาสยนาเวรมณีสิกขาปะดังสมาดิยามิ
Imani atta sikkhapadani samadhiyami.
อิมานิอัตถาสิกขาปดานิสัมมาดิยามิอิมานิอัตถาสิกขาปดานิสัมมาดิยามิอิมานิอัตถาสิกขาปดานิสัมมาดิยามิ
Imani atta sikkhapadani silena sugating yanti silena bhoga sampada silena nibbutting yanti tasama silang visotaye.
สาธุสาธุสาธุ Let's bow down 3 times to compose the precepts and refuge. Bow.
Yesterday was the full moon that marked the end of the rainy season. So we're now in the cold season. I don't think that applies to Singapore, does it? No, just you only have the one season really hot, but the full moon yesterday is particularly remembered because on that particular full moon day in the time of the Buddha gave the teachings on the Anapanasati Sutta. On the full moon day yesterday, so on this last day of the rainy season. So I thought it might be a good thing to reflect on this sutta today, because it's a day of meditation, and reflect on this Anapanasati Sutta. I thought I'd just read a bit first, just to start us off. So, on that occasion, the Uposatha day of the 15th, the full moon night of the Kamudi full moon of the 4th month, the Blessed One was seated in the open, surrounded by the Sangha Bhikkhus. Then surveying the silent Sangha Bhikkhus, he addressed them thus. Bhikkhus, this assembly is free from prattle. This assembly is free from chatter. It consists purely of heartwood. So it's like the assembly here, free from prattle, free from chatter. Such is the Sangha of Bhikkhus, such is this assembly. Such an assembly is worthy of gifts, worthy of hospitality, worthy of offerings, worthy of reverential salutation, an incomparable field of merit for the world. Such is this Sangha of Bhikkhus, such is this assembly. Such an assembly that a small gift given, so it becomes great, and a great gift greater. Such is this Sangha of Bhikkhus, such is this assembly. Such an assembly is rare for the world to see. Such is this Sangha of Bhikkhus, such is this assembly. Such an assembly as would be worth journeying many leagues with a travel bag to see. Such is this Sangha of Bhikkhus, such is this assembly. In this Sangha of Bhikkhus, there are bhikkhus who are arahants, with taints destroyed, who have lived the holy life, done what had to be done, laid down the burden, reached their own goal, destroyed the fetters of being, and are completely liberated through final knowledge. Such bhikkhus are there in this Sangha of Bhikkhus. In this Sangha of Bhikkhus, there are bhikkhus who, with the destruction of the 5 lower fetters, are due to reappear spontaneously in the pure abodes, and there attain final nibbana, without returning from that world. Such bhikkhus are there in this Sangha of Bhikkhus. So the 5 lower fetters, if you don't recollect them, the attachment to rites and rituals, skeptical doubt, self-view, lust and aversion. In this Sangha of Bhikkhus, there are bhikkhus who, with the destruction of the 3 fetters, that's attachment to rites and rituals, doubt and self-view, with the destruction of the 3 fetters and with the attenuation of lust, hatred and delusion, are once returners, returning once to this world to make an end of suffering. Such bhikkhus are there in this Sangha of Bhikkhus. In this Sangha of Bhikkhus, there are bhikkhus who, with the destruction of the 3 fetters, are stream enterers, no longer subject to perdition, bound for deliverance, headed for enlightenment. Such bhikkhus are there in this Sangha of Bhikkhus. In this Sangha of Bhikkhus, there are bhikkhus who are devoted to the development of the 4 foundations of mindfulness. Such bhikkhus are there in this Sangha of Bhikkhus. In this Sangha of Bhikkhus, there are bhikkhus who are devoted to the development of the 4 kinds of striving, the 4 bases of spiritual power, the 5 faculties, the 5 powers, the 7 enlightenment factors, the Noble Eightfold Paths. Such bhikkhus are there in this Sangha of Bhikkhus. In this Sangha of Bhikkhus, there are bhikkhus who are devoted to the development of loving kindness, of compassion, of altruistic joy, of equanimity, the meditation on foulness, of the perception of impermanence. Such bhikkhus are there in this Sangha of Bhikkhus. In this Sangha of Bhikkhus, there are bhikkhus who are devoted to the development of mindfulness of breathing. So, just in the spirit of this is to give you the context of the teaching. So, I would say that all you good people here who come here to practice, and you're all inclined towards higher things. You're not bound for perdition, like the book, like the bhikkhus here, because you have noble aspirations. So, good to remember that you come here out of faith. You're aspiring towards higher things. So, in the spirit of that. You come here like the bhikkhus with the Buddha. So, the practice of mindfulness of breathing. Because when mindfulness of breathing is developed and cultivated, it is of great fruit and great benefit. When mindfulness of breathing is developed and cultivated, it fulfills the 4 foundations of mindfulness. When the 4 foundations of mindfulness are developed and cultivated, they fulfill the 7 factors of enlightenment. When the 7 enlightenment factors are developed and cultivated, they fulfill true knowledge and deliverance. So, sometimes people say that anapanasati is a samatha practice. And some people actually say it doesn't lead to insight. It's not a vipassana practice. But here you see, the Buddha is saying that anapanasati leads to the development of the 4 foundations of mindfulness and developing the 7 factors of enlightenment. So it's, even though it's classed as a samatha practice, it leads to insight. Because, when we do practice mindfulness of breathing, it's like we are turning our attention inward and we're beginning to understand the nature of the mind, the nature of the body through that practice of anapanasati. So insight arises. And so this is why Ajahn Chah, when he was asked about samatha and vipassana, he said like they're like 2 sides of a log. Yeah? If you pick up one, the other one naturally follows. Yeah. So when people say, "Oh, anapanasati, that's just samatha," it's not. It actually leads to insight also. And just like it says here, it leads to the development of the 4 foundations of mindfulness and the 7 factors of enlightenment. And how, bhikkhus, is mindfulness of breathing developed and cultivated so that it is of great fruit and great benefit? Here, a bhikkhu gone to the forest or to the root of a tree or to an empty hut sits down, having folded his legs crosswise, set his body erect, and established mindfulness in front of him, ever mindful he breathes in, mindful he breathes out. So, maybe in Singapore there's not many roots of trees, but we have NDR, don't we? So we come here and we can do the same here that we can do at the root of trees, yeah. Breathing in long, he understands, I breathe in long. Breathing in short, he understands, breathing out long, he understands, I breathe out long. Breathing in short, he understands, I breathe in short. Breathing out short, he understands, I breathe out short. He trains thus, I shall breathe in, experiencing the whole body. He trains thus, I shall breathe out, experiencing the whole body. He trains thus, I shall breathe in, tranquilizing the bodily formation. He trains thus, I shall breathe out, tranquilizing the bodily formation. And just as a comment on this introduction, so to know about the breath, whether it's short or long. But one thing I'd like to comment on that, it's not trying to make the breath any particular way, but just to know how the breath is. And I say this because sometimes, okay, let's start to practice mindful breathing, and normally people's breath is quite quiet, but then they start to practice mindfulness of breathing, they go, yeah, so it's like doing the breath. It's not doing the breath, but allowing the body to breathe naturally and just observing the way the breath is. Yeah, and then because when you do the breath, it doesn't have a good effect actually. But when you allow the body to breathe with mindfulness, then it goes better. It goes more naturally. Yeah, and also it says in this, it doesn't say where to watch it, does it? It doesn't say watch the breath at the tip of the nose. Yeah? It doesn't say watch the breath at the abdomen. It just says observe the breath. Yeah. So wherever one experiences the breath, one can observe it there. However one experiences the breath, one can experience it there. It's not asking you to try to force your mind to watch in a particular spot. But again, it's more natural, isn't it? Rather than forcing your mind somewhere, forcing your mind to the tip of the nose, forcing the mind to the abdomen. But also it says, breathing in, experiencing the whole body. Now, okay, one interpretation is, let's experience the breath from the beginning to the end, the whole flow of the breath. But another interpretation, which I actually find more helpful in meditation, is actually experience the breath as it goes through the whole body. The breath comes in, tip of the nose, experience a sensation there maybe. We experience the sensation of, maybe the movement of the lungs, the movement of the abdomen. So we follow the breath in to experiencing the whole body. And this is actually, I find very helpful because the body can inform us about the mind. Like, certain mind states affect us in the body, don't they? We all, if we're more aware of our bodies, we realize this. If we feel anxious, we feel it in the stomach. Maybe if we feel certain remote things at the heart, related to mind states. So when we follow the breath in to the whole body, we realize that, the energies in the body, and they can inform us about the mind state. So there's some sort of, we call that like a somatic intelligence, that we can gain from breathing and experiencing the whole body. Anyway, whatever works for you, but I'm just giving some sort of hints about how we can practice mindfulness of breathing. Another thing that it says in this, notice it says, I shall breathe in experiencing. Now, this is something to reflect on, because sometimes people sit down to practice mindfulness, to get rid of things. I want to get calm. I want to get rid of all these thoughts. I want to get rid of all this emotional stuff. I want to get calm. Yeah, but this is saying, be willing to experience, and this goes through all these foundations of mindfulness: the willingness to experience the thing, what's happening in the present moment. And I think that this is important, because unless we're willing to experience and allow things to be conscious, we won't learn about them, and we won't learn how to let them go. So before we can actually calm something, let it go, we have to experience it first. And this is what it's saying in this Anapanasati Sutta. Initially for the body, first experiencing the whole body. And from that, then it says, that I breathe in and out, calming the bodily formation. So first experiencing and then calming, right? Rather than I just want to go straight to the calm. Yeah, I mean, we'd like that in a way, wouldn't we? Go straight to the calm. But first, we must experience. Yeah. So that's another thing maybe to reflect on, the willingness to experience. So as the practice continues with the Anapanasati, he trains thus: I shall breathe in, experiencing rapture. He trains thus: I shall breathe out, experiencing rapture. He trains thus: I shall breathe in, experiencing pleasure. He trains thus: I shall breathe out, experiencing pleasure. He trains thus: I shall breathe in, experiencing the mental formation. He trains thus: I shall breathe out, experiencing the mental formation. He trains thus: I shall breathe in, tranquilizing the mental formation. He trains thus: I shall breathe out, tranquilizing the mental formation. So you might say, when I start to practice Anapanasati, I don't feel rapture. And I think very few people do. Wasn't my first experience of mindfulness of breathing. But it's really, to me, this is saying what it's gearing towards. As we develop it more, then, the rapture can arise, right? But actually, if you actually look at the similar teaching in the Satipatthana Sutta, in the Satipatthana Sutta it says, he breathes in, experiencing pleasant feeling. He breathes out, experiencing pleasant feeling. One breathes in, experiencing unpleasant feeling. One breathes out, experiencing unpleasant feeling. One breathes in, experiencing neither pleasant or unpleasant feeling. One breathes out, experiencing neither pleasant or unpleasant feeling. So, in actually the Satipatthana Sutta, it talks about that, we have to experience the feeling of the present moment to learn to know how we're feeling in the present moment. And that can be either pleasant or unpleasant. It's not guaranteed to be rapture, right? But if we stick at it, then there's a possibility for the rapture to arise. Yeah. And again, willing to experience an unpleasant feeling. It's not what we generally want, it's the natural tendency to want to get rid of an unpleasant feeling, Life in general is about seeking the pleasurable and getting rid of the unpleasant, isn't it? But in Dharma practice, we have to be willing to experience the whole range of the feeling realm. And at first it's not easy, but we do gather strength. We do find as we practice more that we can actually be more peaceful with an unpleasant feeling. The tendency to want to get rid of can lessen, and then we learn to more abide with. Breathe with. Now, that's one way I say how we can use the breath. We use the breath to keep us grounded in the present moment, because we know, mindfulness of breathing is a practice of, under the category of mindfulness of the body. And if we're mindful of the body, to whatever extent we're mindful of the body, we're in the present moment. When we lose the body, we're off somewhere, aren't we? We're off in the realm of time, thoughts about this, thoughts about that, or certain perceptions. But if we're mindful of the body, mindful of the breath, that says to some extent we're in the present moment. Right? And when we're in the present moment, we develop that ability to observe the mind in the present moment. Whether it's a pleasant experience or an unpleasant experience. This is why it's vipassana, because we're learning now from the experience of the present moment and using the breath to keep us grounded in that present moment. So if I would contemplate, I would say, we don't say getting rid of feeling, we say breathing in, experiencing, breathing with the feeling. And it changes then. The fact we're being mindful of it allows a wholesome change. These things won't, they change, they don't overwhelm the mind anymore because we're being more mindful of them. He trains thus. I shall breathe in, experience in the mind. He trains thus. I shall breathe out, experience in the mind. He trains thus. I shall breathe in, gladdening the mind. He trains thus. I shall breathe out, gladdening the mind. He trains thus. I shall breathe in, concentrating the mind. He trains thus. I shall breathe out, concentrating the mind. He trains thus. I shall breathe in, liberating the mind. He trains thus. I shall breathe out, liberating the mind. So this is now to be more aware of feeling, but now be more aware of the mind. Now, the way I sort of experience this practice of anapanasati, first you ground yourself in the present moment with the breath. From that, a natural awareness of feeling comes. And from that, a natural more awareness of the mind comes. Now we're establishing the ability to know the mind. It's like our awareness is getting more refined as we practice anapanasati. So in the actual Satipatthana Sutta, with this third foundation of mindfulness, the teaching says one knows the mind affected by lust. One knows the mind affected by aversion. One knows the mind affected by delusion. So this is a more refinement. We begin to know the mind now through the practice. Our awareness is getting more refined. Yeah? And then it goes on to say, one knows the mind that's free from lust. One knows the mind that's free from aversion. One knows the mind that's free from delusion. Now, I found this a nice contemplation. When we start to practice, there's certain mind states that come up quite often for us, whether it's lust, aversion, or some sort of delusion, anxiety, worries. Yeah, and sometimes we think the tendency to sort of create ourselves as that sort of mind state, and the sense of it. Oh, this is the way I am. Yeah. And I find it very important to notice when that mind state is not there. To really make that, that anxiety is not there now. How does that feel? Or that the particular mind state's not there. And then when that mind state's come again, then we can remember, no, I remember when it wasn't there, it doesn't last. And that really helps you to sort of be patient with it and to breathe. You say, breathe with it again. We can breathe with these mind states. And breathing with the mind states is better than getting caught into a lot of mental proliferation. Because, it's the mental proliferation that tends to keep these habits going. With anxiety, our thoughts going off to the past, thinking about the past, or the future, But when we just stay in the present moment with it, breathing with it, we learn to understand it. We learn to experience it and understand it without getting into a lot of the proliferation. And from that, it can be calmed. From that, we can learn how to let it go. But we have to, again, experience. So this practice is not an avoidance. It's learning to experience and understand. We talk about letting go, but what we have to do is also to understand how we hold on. How do we hold on to these things? And a lot of it is about the way we think, the way the mind proliferates. So the willingness to experience and, breathe with it. So we're not, again, trying to absorb into the breath to get rid of things, but using the breath to keep ourselves present with the experience of mind in the present moment. And this is how we understand the mind. This is how we understand, get insight into how to let go. He trains thus. I shall breathe in, contemplating impermanence. He trains thus. I shall breathe out, contemplating impermanence. He trains thus. I shall breathe in, contemplating fading away. He trains thus. I shall breathe out, contemplating fading away. He trains thus. I shall breathe in, contemplating cessation. He trains thus. I shall breathe out, contemplating cessation. He trains thus. I shall breathe in, contemplating relinquishment. He trains thus. I shall breathe out, contemplating relinquishment. So, I see it's a more refinement of understanding of the mind. So, when this particular foundation of mindfulness, like mind objects, is talked about in the Satipatthana Sutta, in that there's more understanding of the refinement of the mind, like with the hindrances. An understanding comes of what gives rise to them and how to abandon them. So it's like a refinement of understanding. We begin to understand the mind on a more refined level. So, and when you say contemplating, it can be reflecting. We can use thought, this is impermanent. Yeah? But it can also mean just observing how things arise and cease. how, say, the thoughts arise and cease. Yeah. Now, relationship to thought. Sometimes people think meditation is trying to get rid of thought. And that makes meditation quite a workout, trying to get rid of thought. Yeah. When I first started to meditate, I was trying to get rid of thought, get into these refined states. I really, I used to get a tense jaw because of my effort. My jaw would tense up, trying to get rid of these thoughts. And I went on this retreat, and it was with the Burmese tradition, where you do noting. I don't know if you know the Burmese practice. So I was really intent, just noting everything, not letting my mind wander. And I did this the whole day, right? Holding out any other thoughts. And at the end of the day, I sort of lie down my bed, and it's still my head exploded with all these thoughts. The only thing I held down just sort of held up. And I thought, this doesn't feel healthy. Yeah. So I changed. Okay, allowing thoughts to come and go. It's the natural function of the mind to think. But making my intention to be more aware of thought. And then again, using the breath to just keep me a little more present so I don't get carried away with the thoughts, So observing thoughts coming and going, but not getting carried away with them, just keep on coming back to the breath, gently, patiently. And, through that practice, the thoughts settle down naturally because I wasn't sort of empowering them. I was more empowering just being with the breath in the present moment. And that would make meditation much more less tense and more pleasant because now I was more allowing things to rise and cease. And this is what it's saying here, contemplating impermanence, how the thoughts come and go. Yeah. Contemplating relinquishment, allowing and fading away, allowing things to fade away, noticing things like the silence between the thoughts. And this makes meditation much more interesting. Then we actually begin to see the sort of thoughts that are coming and going, to observe them in a way that we're not so identify with them anymore, just as a function of the mind. And then we learn. So we can use thought as a we can maybe use the word impermanence, but also contemplation means just observing how thoughts arise and cease, knowing the sort of the nature of the thoughts in terms of are they coming from a wholesome state of mind or unwholesome state of mind, which if it's coming from a hindrance or not, or it might be like coming from sort of a sense of kindness and just thought of somebody you want to wish well. It can be a wholesome train of thought. But one of these things, I shall breathe in, contemplating cessation. I shall breathe out, contemplating cessation. Noticing the ending of things. Noticing the end of a thought. The silence at the end of the thought. Noticing that more. Noticing the silence of the mind. Noticing when something does cease in the mind. And, this is a good contemplation because, the more we let go of things, more peaceful the mind is. Yeah, we don't annihilate, we're not going to die or anything like that, but it's just the mind becomes, we establish more this fundamental awareness of the mind, peacefulness of the mind. Is when we experience more the cessation of things. We're coming to abide in something that's much more fundamental to the mind, which is the fundamental awareness, the fundamental purity of the mind. So this is how the practice of Anapanasati can lead to development of the four foundations of mindfulness, can lead to the factors of enlightenment. So the factors of enlightenment are about establishing mindfulness. And then when we do establish awareness in the present moment, then we can investigate the experience of the present moment, which is the second factor of enlightenment. And again, before we can investigate something, there's some sense of what willing to accept an experience. If we're not willing to accept an experience, can we really investigate something properly? So this is why in this Anapanasati Sutta, it says, talks about experience, willing to experience. Yeah. And then when the mind is in more that focused and contemplative mode, then this gives rise to a good energy in the mind. Virya gives rise to virya. And when, as the mind becomes more focused, then the piti, the joy that was talked about in the Anapanasati Sutta. And that naturally leads to passaddhi, a sense of calm, and to a sense of samadhi, concentration. And then concentration, say, to the last factor of enlightenment, equanimity. And the way I relate to that in practice is that when there's a quality of samadhi, then you have an inner source of happiness and well-being. And because of that, you don't tend to seek things because you found your own sense of well-being. In Thai, they use the word imjai, your heart is full. You don't need anything else. So naturally, because you have this inner refuge then, this inner well-being, in terms of the thoughts and things that come and go, there's more equanimity because you don't need them anymore. You don't look to them for any sense of happiness or stimulation of some sort because you already have cultivated that sense of inner well-being. So it naturally leads to an equanimity, peacefulness, and it's a very nurturing peacefulness. So this is how these seven factors of enlightenment are brought about. So I say, don't underestimate the power of a mindful in and out breath. And I say, as I said before, people, I hear it, people put down these samatha practices like mindfulness of breathing, but what things come out of it, because when we develop mindfulness of breathing, we really learn about the mind and the body. Yeah. It's like breathing mindfully is like the journey inward. Following the breath in is like starting the inward journey to understand the nature of this mind and body. Again, being aware of things, accepting things, investigating, contemplating in the light of the Dharma teachings. And this is where the insights arise, the vipassana. So it's a gradual practice, a gradual awakening, and I say these four foundations of mindfulness, starting with body, feeling, mind objects, it's like a refinement of understanding. And in the final, it's really, when we contemplate mind objects, we really begin to see how these things arise, these hindrances say arise, and we begin to see how to abandon them quite clearly, so they don't stick in the mind anymore. We begin to see arising and ceasing, arising and ceasing. And so there's more refinement of understanding. So I think we can have a period of meditation. I don't know if you want to stand up for a few minutes to stretch your legs before we have a 45-minute sitting. If you want to just stand up for a few minutes. Yes, I'll ring the bell in a few minutes and then we can start the sitting. Yes, could do. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they're a bit bright, aren't they? Go to the breath just to bring our awareness into the physical body. Noticing how the body sensations are in the present moment. It's like sweeping through the body from the crown of the head downwards. So just the eyes, just the eyes gently shut. So a gesture of now we're turning our attention inward rather than looking out. And just noticing the sensations around the face. So keeping the face relaxed, not tensing the jaw. So not a tensed effort. And noticing the sensations around the face. Any sense of hot or cold. Saying the mouth just gently closed, not tensing the jaw. It can be helpful sometimes just to bring a slight smile onto the face, just a more relaxed effort, not a tense, looking too serious effort. bringing our awareness more down, look just round the throat, noticing any sensations around the throat area. Moving down to the shoulders, so not hunching up the shoulders, keeping the shoulders relaxed, allowing the elbows to hang. Moving down to the chest area, noticing any sensations around the chest area. Whether we feel any sense of restriction or openness, however it is, just being with the way it is. Moving down to the stomach area. Notice any sensations here, around the solar plexus, the stomach. Then, feeling the buttocks on the seat, sensation of the buttocks on the cushion. And moving our awareness down the legs, the thighs, the knees, the shins, the feet. So this bringing our awareness into the body, say tuning in with the experience of the body in the present moment. And this can now help to inform us about the breath. So there's some sensations in this, in the physical body that inform us now we're breathing in and now we're breathing out. So noticing now what sensations in the body are informing us. Now we're breathing in, now we're breathing out. Allowing it sort of, the body to naturally inform us, not trying to, force our mind anywhere. And again, allowing the body just to breathe naturally, not forcing it. So we might find, maybe our awareness goes to a point, that's okay. Or we might find our awareness stays more broader, where we're noticing different sensations throughout the body as we breathe in and breathe out, but allowing it to happen naturally, not trying to force it anywhere. However, the body naturally informs us that now we're breathing in, now we're breathing out. noticing the feeling tone of the present moment, whether it's pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Again, be willing to experience that. Breathe with it. Feeling, either the feeling tone can come from a mind state or from a physical experience. So, like discomfort in the body. So, knowing the feeling tone and a sense of is it from the mind or from the body? Of course, if it's from discomfort from sitting, then it's good maybe just to spend a few moments breathing with it, but then of course we can move into a more comfortable position. So we're not here to torture ourselves. Breathing in, experiencing feeling. Breathing out, experiencing feeling. Breathing in, experiencing the mind. Breathing out, experiencing the mind. Yeah, just being aware now what the sort of mind state we experience in the present moment. The sort of the kind of thoughts that I tend to manifest. And a sense of just accepting, breathing with the experience of mind in the present moment. So, allowing thoughts to come and go. They will arise and pass, but the inclination is towards staying present, staying with the breath as best we can. learning from the thoughts that are coming and going. So like we're establishing this knowing of the mind and using the breath to say to help with staying with the knowing, staying in the present moment, not getting carried away with the thoughts that are coming and going. Not getting into judging the thoughts, but just knowing thoughts as just things that are coming and going in the present moment. So like a thought about the future is really a thought coming and going in the present moment. Or a memory from the past is just a memory coming and going in the present moment. So we're establishing this present moment awareness. And the breath is helping us to establish that. So we're creating this non-judgmental knowing. And whatever we're experiencing is allowable. Nothing that we shouldn't be experiencing. It's all allowable. But just to observe it, breathe with it. It changes. the mind wandering a little more. This is natural. What I suggest, maybe we can just do that body sweeping again that we did at the beginning, just to bring us awareness back into the present moment, into the body. Or another way, we can just take a few deep breaths, just to establish our awareness on the breath, and then let it go back to naturalness. So just a way of just doing something just to bring our attention back into the present moment. So meal time. I know we're on 8 precepts, but actually in Singapore, midday is 1 o'clock. And if you knew that, yeah, it's like in England in the summertime, we can eat till 1 o'clock because 1 o'clock is really midday, according to the sun. So we don't have to rush. And I didn't hear all the announcements, but I do recommend having a quiet meal time. So, keep this awareness more inward during this time. If we bring our awareness more outward conversations, it tends to get the mind a bit more stimulated and active. So it's nice to have a more quiet, contemplative, more inward, calming, clearing of things. Yeah. And also, mindful eating, good for health. Yeah. In the monastery, we have the reflection before we eat. We say, wisely reflecting, we use this alms food, not for fun, not for pleasure, not for fattening, not for beautification, but only for the maintenance and nourishment of this body. And, I shall reduce hunger without overeating. So that's something to notice. If you feel hungry now, eat mindfully. Notice when that feeling of hunger goes. Just noticing that. What point does that feeling of hunger go? Now, of course, actually the actual wording of that, we say, I shall reduce hunger without overeating, but actually the actual literal translation would be, I shall get rid of this old feeling of hunger without creating the new feeling of having too much. And that's going to happen, can't it? We get carried away with the taste of the food, and then we think, oh, I've eaten too much. And, if you're going to meditate on a full stomach, it's not, So if we're going to have an afternoon meditation, overeating is not recommended, yeah. Yeah, so just chew the food well, and appreciate what's been offered, whether it's what we prefer or not, but the sense of just appreciation that people have made the effort to produce this food for us today. Yeah. And yes, and then we meet back here at 1 o'clock. So, during the break, stretch your legs, quiet, maybe some books and things, read some Dhamma. Just use this time well. Or we have this opportunity to strengthen our Dhamma practice. Okay, so if somebody could just fill me in on the arrangements, Peter, or Darren. Mm-hmm. Oh yes, okay. Blessing, yeah. Yeah, okay, sounds good. Okay, great.
Brothers and sisters, let's be in Anjali position. Okay, we will now be requesting a formal food offering to Long Paul. We'll chant Dhammaduta 3 times first. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Please repeat after me. Imani Matyang Phante Patani Sapariwarani Silawantassa Ono Jayama Sathuno Phante Silawanto Imani, Patani, Sapariwarani, Patikanhatu, Amhakan, Dikaratang, Hitaya, Sukhaya. Venerable Sirs, represent this food of ours, together with these accompanying articles, to the virtuous ones. May the virtuous ones accept these foods, together with these accompanying articles, for our long-term welfare and happiness.
Sadhu. So I shall go on alms round. I'm back soon. In that reading this morning, it was commented that what is offered to these bhikkhus is of great fruit, on the Buddha's words. And it reminds me that once somebody came to the Buddha and they said, is only offerings made to your monks of any benefit, of any merit? Yeah. And I've heard it said this, that only offerings to your monks is meritorious. And is that true? And the Buddha said, no, that's not true, right? But he said what is particularly meritorious is to offer food to those, whether they're bhikkhus or not, who are either have purified the mind or doing the practice to purify the mind. That is, the Buddha said, is of value. Yeah. So, all the people have offered food for you today because you're doing this practice of purifying the mind. So that's also something of great value. The people who brought the food this morning, I've seen all these little cartons of food for everybody, plus the other dishes. So this is a very good thing to do. Yeah, to support those people who are practicing. And like I visit a centre in Manchester, and there, from time to time, some of the lay community practice there, and the rest of the lay community support them. And it's quite good, yeah, that they support each other to practice. So they stay in the centre, do their meditation, and the Dhamma friends bring them the food. In the spirit of what the Buddha said, to support those who are practicing is of great value. So, may I now chant a blessing and express appreciation for the offerings. And again, anybody you like to bring to mind as I'm chanting to share the blessings with, please bring them to mind, whether they're still with us or if they moved on. Anybody you feel want to share blessings with. And the rest of the chant is to wish you well, wish you happiness, freedom from all mental and physical afflictions, and the blessings of the Triple Gem. Yata varivaha pura pariparente sagarang Ewang ewa ito dinang petanang upakapate Ichitam patitang tom hang kipamewa samijatu Sabe parentu sankapap Janto panaraso yata Manijo tiraso yata Sabetiyo viva jantu Sabarogo vinasadu Mate bhavat vantarayo Sukhi dikayuko bhavam Abhivadhana sili sanicang vodhapachayino Chattaro dhamma vadanti ayuvano sukhang Balang bhavatu sapamangalang Rakantu Sambadevata Sabbabuddha Nubhavena Sada Soti Bhavantu Te Bhavatu Sapamangalang Rakantu Sambadevata Sambadhamma Nubhavena Sada Soti Bhavantu Te Bhavatu Sapamangalang Rakantu Sambadevata Sambasankhanu Bhavena Sada Soti Bhavantu Te.
Let us all now bow in thanks to Luang Por for the blessings. 3 bows, please. So now the curtains will be drawn for Luang Por to have his meal here. The rest of the participants will invite you to go downstairs and quietly to have your meal. You can come up here in about 45 minutes or earlier, like before 12 o'clock, we'll let you know. Once Luang Por finishes and once the curtains are open, you're welcome to come up here and sit here whilst you rest until 1 o'clock. Okay?
May you allay hunger without overeating. Yeah?
May you minimize talking as well as your mobile phone usage and keep the inward reflections. Thank you.